So hey there, my name is Brent Smith and I'm the Common Constitutionalist. Welcome to the Common Constitutionalist Weekend Video Podcast. And I was just out on a walk with my camera and this is where I stopped. So this is where the podcast is going to take place. Just on the side of a trail in the woods. There you go. So today I'm going to be talking about one topic, and the topic is entitled Kavanaugh's Circus is a microcosm of both dysfunctional political parties. So we'll be right back to begin with this fun and entertaining topic. Yeah, baby. Be right back. You're watching the Common Constitutionalist Weekend Video Podcast. Alright, once again I've got my notes here. I'll try to stick to them as best I can. So this Kavanaugh, Christine Blasey Ford nonsense, it's already been interminably long. It shouldn't take this long to do a confirmation. You look back on the Sotomayor, all the other leftist ones, their confirmations are like 27 seconds and they're confirmed a 97-3. Or 1 in absentia or some nonsense like that. It's just unbelievable. But this is obviously purely political, and it's why I'm beginning not to believe anything that this woman Christine Ford, and I'm sick of the hyphenated. You always know, if I can go off on a tangent immediately, right off of the bat, you always know when it's a liberal woman, when they have a hyphenated last name, because they just refuse to give up on their name. So Christine Blasey Ford is Christine Ford. It should be just Christine Ford. That's the traditional way to do it, but of course liberals are non-traditional, and they do this purposely because they don't want to give up their name. All right, so that's a fun aside, right? So like I said, I'm beginning not to believe this woman Christine Ford, what she has to say, or at least the people that supposedly represent her, since frankly we haven't heard really from her, On the other hand, in a way, I'm starting to feel a little bit sorry for Ms. Ford. She's allowed me to call her Ms. Who knows anymore? Yeah, she made the accusation in the first place. Yeah, we all understand that, okay? Whether you think it's bogus or not is immaterial at this point. She originally did make the accusation, so she opened up this can of worms. Whether she was prompted to or not, we may never find out. I don't know, but she opened up this can of worms. But she since has been hijacked by these leftist radicals, and who knows if she may be regretting her decision to come forward in the first place because she has been hijacked by these leftist radicals. If she isn't a seasoned leftist operator, she may not have had any idea of what evil genie she released out of the bottle. Who knows? I mean, some of these people, even liberals, they think they're doing the right thing for the right reasons. We may think they're the wrong reasons, but they may think they're at least the right reason. But then they get hijacked by the people who say they want to represent her and put her, get her point across and, make a point of it. And then all they do is just hijack the whole issue, and then she gets basically thrown to the side or thrown to the wolves, whichever. It doesn't matter once they get what they've gotten out of her. Most people wouldn't understand how their lives might be ruined by coming forth like this, particularly because it's become such a media circus and a political circus. Or, on the other hand, she may have been and is currently a leftist radical who knew exactly what she was doing, and how this would likely go. Who knows? I don't know. You don't know. Nobody really knows, except for her. But in any event, it's too late. There's no undoing what's been done, and there's no undoing what she, in effect, has created with the help of others, obviously. It kind of reminds me, remember the poster child of the left from, I think it was 2005, if I'm not mistaken, Cindy Sheehan. Remember that name? Yes, indeed, I do. She was the mother of a soldier who was killed in the Iraq non-declared, non-war war. All right? And she was the one who went down to the Bush Ranch in Texas and protested outside his, outside the entrance of his ranch or the driveway or something like that for a period of time. And then the leftists picked up her cause, the radicals picked up her cause and hijacked it. And she was used for a little while for what they could use her for, and then basically just tossed aside, never to be heard from again. And I have a sneaking suspicion that that's the way that Ms. Ford, I'm sure she doesn't want to be called Mrs. Ford, perish the thought. Ms. Ford, that may end up being her fate as well. So anyway, the reason I have my doubts about the validity of the claim, specifically about Kavanaugh, is this. Sexual predators, what is a predator? Anyway, sexual predators, they don't do one and done, okay? They're repeat offenders. Almost always, they're repeat offenders. I don't know of any sexual predators that I've ever heard of. I mean, thankfully, I don't know of any sexual predators personally, thank heavens. But I don't know of any sexual predators I've heard of or seen that are one and dones. They're one-offs. They prey on one woman, one girl, one whatever, and then they're done. That's it. And then they find faith or something like that, and then they're done. That's not the way it works. Most of these guys are accused of sexual misconduct or worse, frankly, have dozens, if not more, victims that, in their wake, so to speak. They don't just abuse one woman and then just stop. They get away with it the first time, and then they move on to another, and then another, and then another, and then finally somebody says, I've had enough, comes forth, and then a bunch of women pile on and say, you know what, I've been quiet for a little while, but that happened to me also, and that's where the Me Too movement came from, obviously. And of course, that was hijacked too. Fabulous. Kavanaugh only has the one accuser, Ford, right? And that's it. And believe me, I can unconditionally guarantee, without even knowing a thing about it, that leftist covert operatives are turning over every stone and going to every corner of the globe looking for at least another accuser to come forth. Maybe that's why they're stalling. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm going to take a quick break. Be right back with more fun and frivolity regarding this. The Republicans, and we're going to go off on what seemingly is a tangent, but it kind of isn't. Be right back.
You're watching the Common Constitutionalist video podcast.
Yeah, baby!
Okay, welcome back. I'm Brent Smith again. I'm the Common Constitutionalist. And let's just get right back into this. There's no need to recap. You guys know what I've been talking about. Kavanaugh, Ford, the left, how they've hijacked her. Well, seemingly, at least, unless she's a leftist radical. But I don't know. I know her attorney, Katz, is definitely a leftist radical, a MoveOn.org type radical. And there you go. But just look at how the Republicans are treating this circus sideshow revolving around what appears, by all rights, by everybody, Kavanaugh, who's a really good guy. That doesn't mean or translate into, because he's a really good guy, he's going to be a really great justice. I don't know. No one knows, frankly. Nobody knows. Everybody thought Justice Roberts was going to be great on health care. How'd that work out for us? Not so good. So you just never know. But by all rights, this guy, all appearances, Kavanaugh is a squeaky clean, pretty darn good guy. All right? So this whole process has been going on, and the Republicans are getting frustrated, and the Democrats are continuing to stall, and all this other nonsense. And then Grassley comes out and makes a demand, like, you know, gives them a deadline, gives them an ultimatum. Boy, tough Chuck Grassley. Boy, those Republicans, we're going to get them this time. And we all stupidly stand up and go, yay, Republicans are finally getting a spine. Hooray for them. Way to give them a Friday night deadline. Yeah, baby, they're going to have to stick to this, right? No, of course not. This is the Democrats we're talking about. And more importantly, this is the Republicans we're talking about. Republicans, they talk a good game, and then the Democrats come back, they cry foul, they do something in the public arena, and then the Republicans do what they always do. They cave, like this time, and they say, well, okay, we'll give you another day. Why? What's going to happen in 24 hours that hasn't already happened? This process has been, frankly, this process has been going on since what we understand July, and now it's almost the end. This is the end of September, and it's still going on. And when 24 hours is going to make any bit of difference, of course not. Chuck Grassley, you boob. That's my opinion. But that's the problem with us, okay? We on the right, not necessarily me. I know what's going on, and you know, a lot of you people know what's going on. But we, generally on the right, we never learn. Because this is what Republicans do. This is what they always do. All they do is talk a good game. We get all excited. Yay, we're finally going to stand up for ourselves. And then more often than not, they reverse course at the slightest leftist pushback. And it doesn't even need to be much. All somebody has to do is take to a microphone, and then the Republicans cave, and we get disappointed, and then everything stops, and the cycle repeats itself, and we do the same dadgum thing over again. They do, we do, everything's same. It's phenomenal. It's unbelievable. It's a real lesson. It's a real psychology lesson, I got to tell you, man. So Grassley and the Republicans say, well, enough is enough. Enough with the postponing. You have until whatever, last Friday, you know, this Friday, next Friday, you know, second Tuesday of October. I don't know. So they give you an ultimatum, and then nothing. Give them another day, right? And then, for some reason, we get all confused when Grassley gives them another day. Why? Why do we get confused? And they're thinking that, I don't know what the Republicans are thinking, but I guess they must be thinking that this is going to cause everybody to see the Republicans on the committee and to say, well, at least the Republicans are the reasonable ones. That's what they're going to think. That's what the public's going to think. And more importantly, that's what us Republicans that support them, or supposed to support them, that's what they're going to think, is that the Republicans are reasonable. They'll give them another day. Sure, we'll do that. What's going to hurt another day? Is that it? Is that their mindset? No, in my opinion, that's not their mindset. That's not the reason why Grassley's going to give them another day. That's not the reason why. Because they want to maintain this aura of they're the reasonable and logical ones, that they don't just go strictly on emotion. That ain't it. In my opinion, that's definitely not it. It's because Republicans are inherently risk averse. That's the reason. You can call them cowardly, and certainly in a way they sure as crap are. They're cowardly. There's no doubt about it. But that cowardice comes from being risk averse. It's called, in business, or in lots of things in life, it's called paralysis by analysis, where you sit around and you think and you ponder and you weigh the pros and cons for so long that the opportunity just drives right by you. And then there's no opportunity left because you're too busy analyzing it. That's what the Republicans do, is they weigh the pros and cons, and invariably there aren't any pros, it's just all cons. I think that's got to be what their thinking is that if we take a risk, if we stick our necks out on this issue, okay, whatever it may be, it doesn't matter. It may anger the electorate, and then we'll lose the election. Or it may not anger the electorate, and we could win the election. Unfortunately, they never seem to consider the it may not. It's always that it may anger, it may damage, it may something, all right, to their precious elections. And they only picture the worst possible outcome. And for any, frankly, not just for this, for any given scenario, they only picture the worst possible outcome, and that's all they picture. And the scenario, this is the key, in my opinion, the scenario always revolves around one single event, and that's getting reelected. Getting elected or getting reelected. That's it. The next election. That's what it always revolves around for Republicans. Getting reelected. That's it. It has to be. Excuse me. Little bee flying by there. So, yes, Republicans, conservatives, and whatnot, we're supposed to be the thoughtful ones, right? We're supposed to be the reasonable ones, right? That's what we always preach. We're supposed to be the thoughtful. We're not driven by emotion. We're driven by logic and reason and whatnot. And we're not the Democrats who are always driven just by emotion. And we're not reactionary, and we're not blah and blah and blah and blah. All right? That's supposed to be the line. Now, we may not be. We may be the reasonable ones. We may be not the reactionary ones. But the Republican politicians who claim that they're representing us, they sure are. They're absolutely reactionary, and they sure are emotion-driven. They're entirely emotion-driven. And the only emotion that they're driven by, like I said, is re-election. That's it. The next election coming up. That's it. There's nothing more important to them. And I think it's even more defined, that want for re-election, or that want to please the electorate for the next election, is even more defined in the Republicans than the Democrats. And I'll explain that coming up. Take another break. Be right back.
You're watching the Common Constitutionalist video podcast.
Alright, I'm back, and thank you for watching, for those who continue to tune in to my diatribe. Yay. Okay, so what I said about being emotion-driven, not being logical, not being reasonable, and only driven by one single emotion is the next election. Pleasing the electorate to get elected for the next time around. That's what it is. And that's exactly what we accuse the Democrats, that you don't care about what's true, and we don't care about what's right. All you care about is winning the election and power. That's all. That's a knock on. We always knock the Democrats for that. Obviously, to some extent that's true, but it's not as true as it used to be. And why is that, you might ask? Well, I'll explain to you why that is. It's because the left appears to have a much better understanding of the current configuration of our government. That's the bottom line. They know how the government really operates. We don't, evidently, or our Republican political club. No, actually, we don't, as a whole. Republicans and conservatives, as a whole, don't. We look to the founders and whatnot as the creation of our government and the perfection of our government, but we don't understand the current configuration of our government as well as Democrats do. And that gives them a huge advantage over us. They understand that elected officials, Congress and the Senate, the legislature, are fast becoming just simply figureheads. That's all. That the real power is elsewhere. The real power is in the executive branch, the courts, and the unelected bureaucracy. They understand that better than we do. Some of us, conservatives, Republicans, don't understand that at all. We have the silly notion that the legislature actually are the ones closest to the people, and they're the ones that run the government. Bull crap. No, they don't. Democrats understand this. Absolutely. The Republicans don't necessarily. All right? Or too many don't necessarily. Okay. So first off, the executive branch, as we obviously see and have been demonstrated over the years, they control the Justice Department, and they control all the spy agencies, and evidently the spy agencies are pretty easy to corrupt and weaponize. There you go. Even more important than that, the Justice Department, the executive branch controls information, and it controls the flow of information. There you go. That's the crux of the executive branch. They control information, and they control the flow of information through all these various agencies under the Justice Department, Homeland, and everything else, all right? The courts, well, frankly, we all know what the courts do. They make laws. They're not supposed to, but they do. They legislate from the bench. We all know it. Everybody knows it. Whether it's unspoken or not, everybody knows that the courts, they make their own dadgum laws. They make their own decrees. Frankly, they make their own executive orders, and that's the way it is. And they obstruct the legislative branch, and when there's a Republican in office, they obstruct the president, not necessarily the executive branch, but they obstruct the president. And they do so with impunity because they know they can, because the legislative branch will never challenge them. Because the courts are the end-all and be-all. That's it. Okay, once the courts say so, that's it. That's it, particularly the Supreme Court. Well, that's not the way it was supposed to be, but that's the way it is now. Yay. And last, and certainly not least, the left can be assured, this is why they look like they're concerned with elections, but they're not quite as concerned as we are with elections, and here's the reason why. Is the left, no matter what happens, they can rest assured that they will still be in control of the other two, the executive branch and the unelected bureaucracy, the deep state, as we're calling it now. The forever entrenched bureaucracy. I don't care how do you want to classify it or name it. That's what they control. They'll control the departments in the executive branch, and they'll control the unelected bureaucracy. Those are the two that really count. The legislative branch is, frankly, is just window dressing these days. It seems like it anyway. It's why they were so desperate to get rid of Trump. If only Hillary were elected, they would have none of these headaches. None of this stuff would ever come out. None. He's the only, and Trump, that's the point. That's why he's such a threat to these people, is that he's the only one that can upset the apple cart. He's it. That's it. Not the legislature, not anything else. Trump is the only one standing in the way of complete control, to regain complete control of the government by the leftists. That's it. And I've heard, well, if you get rid of Trump, then you're going to have Mike Pence, and Mike Pence is he's a Bible-thumping radical right guy, and he's going to be even worse than Trump. Trust me, I'm sorry. I think Mike Pence is a good guy. I was never really a Mike Pence fan as a politician, because I'd seen him cave in the past. I'm sorry it doesn't come to mind, and I forgot to research it real quick, but I remember a few decisions that he made as governor, I guess it was, and I wasn't thrilled with some of his decisions, that he did cave like a Republican, and he will be much more easily controlled because he's been a politician for so long than Trump. Trump can't be controlled to some extent. Pence can be. So, yeah, be careful what you wish for, all right? Republicans. Oh, you'll get Pence. No, no. Leftists won't have any problem. Sorry, but it's true. That's the way. So, you also might be thinking about this time, as I'm wrapping this up, that, wow, I sure as crap have gone far afield from the Ford-Kavanaugh Senate hearing nonsense. But did I really? No, I kind of didn't, actually. Because, as I said in the, what did I call this thing? Kavanaugh, Circus, a microcosm of both dysfunctional political parties. I went from talking about Ford-Kavanaugh to the Republicans, to the Democrats, to the elections, to who controls the government, and then Trump and Mike Pence. Well, that does seem rather far afield from the Ford-Kavanaugh Senate hearings, but that's the point. It isn't far afield. It's all intertwined. The circus around Kavanaugh is a microcosm of what's wrong with America and what's really important to both dysfunctional political parties. This encapsulates it all. The power, the control, the magnitude of the dysfunction in these political parties, who controls what, who will stand up to who, and it's all encapsulated in this one Senate hearing. The entire dysfunction of the government, the entire dysfunction of both political parties, and our politics in general are all encapsulated in this one silly blanket hearing. That's all I've got today. My name is Brent Smith. I'm the Common Constitutionalist. Thank you for watching my video podcast. Have a blessed balance of the weekend, and we'll talk at you next week. See ya.